My name is Warren Brand. I'm the principal of Chicago Coatings Group, and we were hired to do an underwater inspection of the oceans of fun at the Milwaukee County Zoo on September 18th, 2013. This area here and some of these other blisters are the only areas that we found that exhibited adhesive failure. That is, the concrete was actually exposed underneath the blisters. We estimate that roughly 80% of the walls of the tank are blistered, with about 15% of those blisters actually having cracked open and exposed the coating underneath. That is, we believe that the vast majority of all the blister failures are cohesive in nature and that they are not cracked and opened down to the substrate. In addition to blistering, we are seeing some mud cracking. This is a crack, a large crack that was repaired. The owner advised us that there were a number of cracks in the pool, all of which appeared to be successfully repaired, and she did not believe that the pool was leaking at all. This is a repair that was reportedly done about 8 or 9 years ago, and as you can see, it's holding up apparently better than the surrounding material. And here is a sample of a typical blister exhibiting cohesive failure and cohesive disbondment rather than adhesive. And this is just again an overview of the wall and the blistering. Here is the transition from the wall to the floor. The floor is fundamentally different than the walls in that it had virtually no blistering whatsoever. It does have a sediment, which is probably a mix of algae and waste from the sea lions on it that is pretty easily removed with my fingers. We were tasked specifically with not doing any damage to the existing coating, so we were very limited in terms of what we were able to the coating to clean it. This should come off fairly easily with some light water blasting. The floor has a couple of grates on them, as well as a couple of plastic fittings. This is a patch that we found on the bottom of the pool. It seemed fairly well adhered. We didn't want to damage it. We were tasked with not damaging the existing coating, and it was beyond our scope to determine exactly what that material is, although we were told that it was applied shortly after the initial coating was installed about 8 or 9 years ago. You can see in a second that a paint drip came off fairly easily, we assume because the surface there was not properly prepared for adhesion. In the next clip, coming up in a second, you will meet with the owner and she will give you an overview of the pool and you'll get a sense of the size and dimensions of the pool. And so those are all underneath the coping.
Right, this top area was rock work that went on over the surface of the pool ledge.
9 years ago?
No, maybe 6 or 7 years ago. Hi, baby. Maybe 6 or 7 years ago. It's fantastic. I don't want to touch this whatsoever. We've had a hard time getting anything to hold up this well on the top, and we went through several products before we could get this. Hello. But along the edge here, we're starting to get some concrete breaking down.
This is the owner peeling back a piece of the coating. It looks flexible, but it was still fairly well adhered and it was very durable. We actually had to take an X-Acto knife and cut the coating off. It couldn't be pulled off with your hands. We are concerned, however, that when these areas are exposed, that the baby sea lions will nibble on them and possibly ingest the coating, which is one of the reasons the entire project is moving forward. The area below the coping, about 1.5 to 2 feet below the coping, is exposed to freeze-thaw action in the wintertime because the owner lowers the water level at that time. The contractor will need to budget some concrete repair for these areas, primarily underneath the coping stones. Further, while it's beyond our scope at this point, the contractor or the specifier will need to determine how to terminate the coating system at or below the coping stone. That could be bringing the coating up to the base of the coping stone. It could include the installation of a caulk joint, or it could potentially include the removal of the coping stones and bringing the coating system up and on top of the existing tank, and then placing the coping stones back on top. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact Chicago Coatings Group. We'll be happy to provide you with whatever information you need. Thank you very much.